Welcome. Hello, hello. Hello. How is everybody today?
Hey everyone, we're gonna wait for some people to get on, so listen to some music and invite your friends, add them to the group. We can pop them in really quick if you want to share this, and we'll give this a few minutes for everybody to get their drinks and come get educated. Well, looks like we have a few people on. CJ, you want to get started?
Absolutely. Welcome, you guys. I'm so happy to be here today. I think it's an awesome day, number 8,052 of quarantine, right? But I just wanted to pop on today and bring in a good friend of mine to talk a little bit about CBD and what you're dealing with CBD when you're going through pregnancy, postpartum, or breastfeeding. It's so important. My name, again, maybe I should start there, is CJ Jenkins. I am a paramedic, a mom to a very vivacious 2-year-old little girl named Harper, and also a cannabis advocate. And I get questions all the time about CBD and specifically with pregnant and postpartum stuff. And there's not a lot of information out there. So that's why we decided to come live today and really kind of bring you some good info. This is my friend Marlies Ledbetter. She is a presidential founder with Green Compass Global. She's a certified cannabis consultant and also an amazing musician. And I'm so happy to have you on today, Marlies. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And of course, as soon as we go live, my husband is trying to figure out our alarm system. So if you hear him talking in the background, I apologize. But thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here to help educate. I am a certified medical cannabis consultant. I'm also part of the Society of Cannabis Wow. Quarantine's got me. Cannabis clinicians. I've been practicing for several years now. I'm a historian for the cannabis plant. I speak all over the nation, and I'm also a published author. And I'll have some books coming out on Amazon very soon, hopefully. But what is most important is I've dealt with thousands and thousands of different clients and patients from our medical practices, and overwhelmingly, CBD is what it's all chalked up to be. And so we're going to tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I was saying before, being a paramedic, I get these questions all the time. Is it safe? So, is the big one that we always get. Everybody's asking that right now. There's a buzz about CBD. It's everywhere. You can buy it in the gas station. You can buy it at your local pharmacy. You can buy it from some guy down the street, So a little bit about, why don't we just talk a little bit about just the basics of CBD first and delve into that?
Yeah, absolutely. The basics of CBD are pretty simple. CBD stands for cannabidiol or cannabidiol. You can kind of say it tomato or tomato, but it is one of the very many compounds found in the cannabis plant. And it is unique because it acts on cannabinoid receptors that are a part of our body, our system, called the endocannabinoid system, which we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And the reason that we get CBD from hemp is that it is the most abundant compound. Of all of the plants in the kingdom that are found on earth, hemp produces CBD more than any other plant, and that is why we use it. And hemp is part of Cannabis sativa L, which is the species name, a subspecies Cannabis sativa L. And but there are lots of other cannabinoids as well: THC, CBN, CBC. There are acids, CBDA, THCA. We've got homologs that have a V at the end, or varins is what we call them. But cannabinoids are not just found in the cannabis species. They're actually found in lots of other plant sources. So we've got hops, which we make beer from, pepper, cacao or cocoa. And what's really, really interesting as well is that it's found in cruciferous greens. So Brussels sprouts, broccoli, all of your like really leafy vegetables, anything that's super green or purpley, typically will have traces of cannabinoids. So they're actually more abundant than we think. It's not just in the hemp or cannabis species. And then what's really, really interesting is that our human bodies produce a form of cannabinoids called endogenous cannabinoids, and it's actually found in our breast milk, which just shows you when you have the colostrum at the beginning, right after you give birth, it is so full of antibodies and immune boosters and building blocks and amino acids and all of these things, right? And within that is the endocannabinoids. Our body is producing, when you nurse and you feel that calming effect, that is actually anandamide being released. And we call it the bliss molecule or the relaxation molecule. And that is our body's producing an endogenous cannabinoid that both relaxes the baby and the mother and allows the feeding process to happen more synergistically. So very, very interesting. I mean, it's really something that people just don't realize is more than just cannabis. So that's pretty cool. And then I know a lot of people always ask, like, what's the difference between marijuana and hemp?
That's
And
one of
so
the big questions we always get. Yeah,
yeah, so that
absolutely.
one,
Like, am I gonna get high, or what is the difference between these two plants? I thought they were the same species. I get that question all the time.
all the time. And so this is super basic understanding. So CBD is found in all of the cannabis plants, and marijuana and hemp are just different classifications. So marijuana is considered any plant that grows with higher amounts of THC, typically more than 1% THC, but legally it's considered below 0.3%. But just so you know, in nature, it actually does occur around 1% in hemp as well. Just depends on the climate, the heat, different weather conditions, planting cycles, things like that. So THC can fluctuate in both marijuana and hemp, but as in the legal status, hemp is considered to have less than 0.3% THC, and then marijuana would be above that. Now, they're both part of the same genus, the same species, and the same subspecies. So that's why people get confused, because they're actually cousins. And marijuana and hemp are really just slang names, marijuana meaning Mary Jane in Spanish. It was just a popularity type of term that the people coming from Mexico, the immigrants, called it marijuana, but it really just meant Mary Jane, which is what they called it. And then hemp is more like a nickname for the industrial part of the plant. So we think of like fiber and paper and biofuel and building products and like plastics. That is what we consider hemp. But honestly, marijuana and hemp both produce CBD. They both produce THC. Marijuana, though, produces higher amounts that get you high or give you psychotropic effects. That will give you a sense of non-existent of your reality. It might make you feel numb. It might make you feel euphoric and giggly. It gives you, the munchies. Like, those are all things that marijuana will do. And while marijuana is a very, very strong medicine, a lot of people prefer to get their medicine without the high. And so that is what hemp is able to do, giving you the same cannabinoid profile, just kind of the reverse. So very high CBD, very low THC. You don't get high. It's really impossible. It's like not biologically possible for you to get high on hemp. And then you have all of those healing properties that CBD is able to interact with our bodies and get your bodies to be producing those endogenous cannabinoids. So that's really the difference. I mean, they both look the same. They smell the same. They taste about the same. There are different strains that might be a little bit different from each other, but overall, that's why there's so much miseducation on it, because of how similar they are. I mean, it's like you and me both being Homo sapiens. We could
Right.
very much be related to each other possibly, but we're definitely not the same person. We don't have the same brain. We don't have the same genetics. It's kind of the same. And then I did want to mention with what was I saying? Oh, yes. The hemp and marijuana plants, to be able to produce cannabinoids, they have to be female. Only female plants produce cannabinoids. The males are just pollinators. And so when it's really important when we grow the CBD in the fields, that the plants are pre-fertilized, and then we have these little baby buds that are grown in nurseries, and those are planted in the soil. So it's kind of like IVF. You're implanting already a fertilized seed that's already starting to grow. And so that's what we put in the ground. And then the males stay away, because if they send pollen to the girls will start producing seeds, and then they're going to want to start repopulating. We don't want that to happen. We don't want seeds in the flower, because we're not producing CBD hemp oil. We're producing CBD only, because hemp seeds don't have CBD in them. They are really nutritious. They're great for oils and cooking and lots of other things, but they don't produce CBD. So
So
we
we
don't.
don't have to worry if we go to the grocery store and want to buy some hemp seeds to sprinkle on our salad about
Mhm.
getting high or, you
You
know,
won't feel anything really. It's just
anything crazy like that. Okay, good.
yeah,
That's always
just a
nice
food
to know.
product.
So talking about that, I think there's a couple things here. I get questions so much about specifically about the safety of CBD, and people are very concerned about if it's safe, especially moms, or potential new moms that are pregnant, breastfeeding, postpartum, any stage of that cycle. And safety is, like, I think, the number one question we get there. What do you want to talk about as far as, like, how to talk to these moms and make them feel more comfortable with the decision to use CBD?
Absolutely. Well, number one is absolutely safe. There are no negative side effects to using a CBD oil. As long as you're looking for quality, which we'll talk later, a quality CBD oil is absolutely safe. And it's really, really important to talk to your OBGYN first, to make sure that there are no complications in your pregnancy that CBD could counteract with. So you always want to make sure you're erring on the side of caution. You always want to go through your doctor first. But a lot of doctors don't have any knowledge of endocannabinoids or CBD or anything like that. So the World Health Organization considers CBD to be overall safe to use for any species that has an endocannabinoid system, which is anything that has a spine. It is safe to use. You always want to make sure that if you are taking medications, that you work with your pharmacist to make sure there aren't any interactions. But typically, as long as you're not taking doses over 50 milligrams, there should be no interaction in medication either. And so it's really, really important for people to note that even if you might feel side effects with CBD, they're not negative, they're not harmful, they're not something that could be life-threatening. Dry mouth, a little bit of diarrhea, a light headache is typically just an indicator that you're detoxing. And a lot of people have environmental pollutions and toxins in their body. And so CBD helps clean those out too. But really, overall, what CBD does is it's not necessarily a drug at all. It's just a balancer. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but homeostasis is what CBD helps the body regulate. And so if you think about it kind of like, if you're super excited and then you can't calm down afterwards, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I just had like the best thing happen to me, but then you just like can't chill out. The body actually regulates this, and that's considered called homeostasis, is when like for instance, here in this picture here, you see the body temperature falls and then the body temperature rises, and then our blood vessels either constrict or dilate, and then heat is retained or heat is lost, and then you go back to normal body temperature. Same thing with your brain, with your nervous system, with all of the functions in your body. This is what it's regulating. And so you're not necessarily taking it to feel anything. You're taking it so that it can just regulate the system. And that's why all of these things start happening with the body, is it's all about balance. And if you're a mom and you're breastfeeding or you're pregnant, you want something that balances you. You don't want to feel off. You don't want to feel different. You don't want to feel anything really. You just want to feel like yourself again. And that's what homeostasis is. It's kind of like when people tell me, I feel like my old self again. Well, that's because you're back to balance. That is all that has happened, is that you're balanced, your body's functioning the way it should. All of the noise of your body has slowed down, and things are back to normal. So overall, totally safe. You always want to make sure that you're using the right dose and that you're taking it correctly, but we'll talk about that a little bit later too.
So you talked a little bit about how our bodies, naturally produce an endogenous cannabinoid. So how would that affect somebody who is breastfeeding? Like, is that going to transfer to the baby? How does that all work?
Sure. So obviously anything that you take or ingest can be passed into your breast milk, but we already create endogenous cannabinoids in our breast milk. And so think of it as like an added boost. It's more like a vitamin. You're just giving your body the ability to do the things that it needs to do better. And CBD and THC, of course, will be partially passed into your breast milk. But for THC to be passed, it has to be a very high saturation level. You would have to be really intaking a marijuana product for it to be able to show up in your breast milk. Honestly, we've done tons of research studies, and I'll just put this out there because, and I don't know if I already said this, there is no medication that's tested on pregnant or breastfeeding moms at all. The FDA does not allow that. So we have to really look at mouse studies and pregnant and breastfeeding moms that are mice to see how the babies react. Are they growing correctly? Are they generally healthy? Are we seeing better results? And so overall, mice models are showing us that yes, it's generally safe. Even low levels of THC are still safe for the babies during pregnant and breastfeeding terms, because not a lot is passed through. You have to remember that when you're taking something in your body, there's still a lot of processing that happens. So by the time it gets into your breast milk, it's really whittled down. And so you're not passing the exact same dose of the CBD that you took in your breast milk. It's very much a trace amount. So if you're already taking trace amounts of THC in a full spectrum product from hemp, you're going to get even more traces, very, 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 very tiny. We're talking about 0.0001% of THC types of traces. We're not talking about anything that would make the baby feel high or make the baby feel altered or change the brain functions. But if you feel like you are not comfortable with having THC in your body during pregnancy or breastfeeding, absolutely, that's fine. A lot of people prefer to use the THC-free products. CBD will still do a lot of the work. It's kind of like a relay race. You can run a relay race and pass the finish line by yourself. Like, you don't have to hand the baton off, but are you going to do it as well as if you had 5 other friends on the relay race passing off the baton because they have more energy to get to the finish line? It's kind of like that. They're both going to cross the finish line. One's just going to be able to do it faster and more effectively. But CBD alone by itself, I mean, I took CBD by itself for years and years and years without full spectrum because it wasn't legal in Texas, and it worked wonders for me. So I just always tell women, don't be too overly concerned, because it is just like if you ate a buttload of Brussels sprouts or a ton, you drank some beer from hops. You always want to make sure that you're doing things in moderation. You don't want to be taking CBD all day, every day. And we'll talk about dosing as well. But yeah, it's safe. There are no typical issues. You always want to make sure that you test it in small amounts. If there is a reaction, we want to make sure that that doesn't happen either.
That's awesome. I just think it's so amazing to hear, all the different ways that you can get natural cannabinoids in the world today.
Yeah.
Because before I learned about CBD, I had no idea, and before learning what I know now about the endocannabinoid system, I had no idea that when I was eating broccoli or Brussels sprouts, I was getting cannabinoids. And
Yeah.
it's nuts. There's so much to learn. And I think switching gears a little bit, talking a little bit about the discomforts of pregnancy. I think we've, all of us that have had a child or are pregnant now or are, breastfeeding, it can all relate. We all have different birth stories. And, when I got pregnant, I was 40 years old. So I was what they consider a geriatric pregnancy, which is hysterical to me because I definitely don't feel old or act that way. But anyway, I mean, there's just so much discomfort. And there's, people go through the typical stuff. We've got, people who have nausea, sleeping issues, you get cramping. There's so much that goes on as far as the weight gain to sciatic pain, back pain, leg and foot pain. Your pelvis starts to shift place. And then we've got this crazy hormonal influx that's going on, and all your connective tissues in your body go from tight to relaxed. Your whole body is just completely out of whack. I mean, everybody's got their own experience of what they went through, but I think everybody can relate to a few of those things that I just talked about today. And their birth issues or their pregnancy issues. So, can you talk to us a little bit about how CBD specifically works in the body, and then how it might help somebody who's pregnant deal with some of those discomforts?
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so let's do a little bit deeper dive into the endocannabinoid system. This is a general overview of the endocannabinoid system. This is very, very general, very general. There are actually, this is incorrect. So there's three primary endocannabinoid systems, receptor systems in the body. CB1 was first understood in 1990, and then CB2 was understood in 1993. Now, just recently, a couple of years ago, we've understood CB3. And CB3 will access the pineal gland, which helps produce melatonin. So it helps regulate the sleep cycles. It also accesses the cerebellum. So a lot of memory issues, focus, and certain types of functions of the brain will also be part of the CB3. And then we also see CB3 being accessed in other different parts, different organs and functions of our body. But overall, you've got CB1, which is the brain, lungs, your vascular system, your nervous system. Those are the main functions of CB1. You've got your muscle and reproductive system, which are a subset also of CB1. Your liver, your pancreas are all subsets of CB1. And then when you look at CB2, we're now diving into your pancreas, your colon, again, your liver, your spleen, your bones, and your skin. And the skin is actually the most has the most amount of endocannabinoid receptors on the body. And that's why we see topicals work so well, is because they're able to help with accessing discomfort right away. And so a lot of people will take an oral CBD, but when you use it topically, you're able to hammer the CB2 receptors as well as CB1, CB2, and CB3. So it's kind of just like an entourage of helping the body. And so those are, basically, I mean, we know it's science. It's been discovered. It has been studied for over 30 something years. And so this is not a new thing at all. But how it works is really, really interesting. So I'm going to show you a little bit more detail of understanding the endocannabinoid system and the receptors. So as you saw, we saw a vast array of biological systems, but our bodies get depleted from environmental factors, stressors, toxins, our genetics, our overall health, disease, all of these things, right, that we get exposed to. And so then our biological systems go out of whack. All of these systems start functioning incorrectly, or they're not getting the level of support it needs. And so the brain kind of has to decide on whether or not where to prioritize, where it's going to help function. And so the prioritization is mainly more of that, well, again, fight or flight. Whatever the body needs to survive best is what it's going to focus on. And so typically people that have a lot of discomfort also have issues with sleep. That is the restorative cycle that our body needs. And so if you're not sleeping well, a lot of things will go out of whack as well. But cannabidiol or cannabidiol, CBD, naturally activates the body to be able to replenish these systems. And so this process brings the body back to the balance or homeostasis so that we feel our best mentally and physically. And so a lot of women will say, you know, you have a lot of physical symptoms during pregnancy, but think about all the mental things that we have. You know, we're foggy, we have pregnancy brain, we can't remember things, we are anxious a lot, like everything is stressing us out and making us worried, and we're, you know, our hormones are off all over the place. We're screaming at our family. Like it's all of these things that happen. But really it has to do with the balance of the system. So when you take a cannabinoid, so if you look at the top left here, the cannabinoid receptors go in and they access the endocannabinoid receptors to start sending signals. And it starts this loop. And what's really, really cool about it is that with endocannabinoid system, we produce what's called 2-AG and anandamide. And anandamide is the bliss molecule. It's the molecule that we feel after sex. It's the molecule that we feel during runner's high. It's the molecule that we feel, let's say, right after a really good massage, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. I feel so relaxed. Like, because our body is being stimulated in multiple ways. Essential oils also do that. They help access the body and produce endogenous cannabinoids as well. There's actually several essential oils that access the CB2 receptors as well, like copaiba. I think that's how you say it. But there's lots of different things that access CB2 as well. But that anandamide, that bliss molecule, is why people, when they take CBD, they don't necessarily feel anything. But a lot of people will say, like, I feel like my shoulders drop. I can breathe again. I feel more relaxed. I'm not drowsy or dizzy or anything like that. It's not like taking a Valium or a Xanax or anything. I mean, it's nothing like that. It's a feeling that you just came out of a spa, right? You feel just like, you know, and that's the anandamide. And some people feel a little bit more sensitive when anandamide hits. You know, sometimes after sex, you feel like wildly euphoric, and some people feel very relaxed. It just depends on how the body produces the anandamide molecule and how the chemical responses in our body is. But overall, it's a safe feeling. It's a feeling that we want to have. I mean, I wish I could run and have runner's high because I've never felt it before. If I'm running, you better run too, because I'm being chased. That's the only way you'll see me running. But yeah, when the receptors are activated, our body starts producing the chemicals. It starts regulating all the things in our body. And CBD and THC, they're not what's healing us. Our body's doing the work. And it's just like a symphony conductor. All of these instruments are in front of us, right? And if they're not perfectly on beat, if they're not in the same key, if there are a bunch of violins that are out of tune, you're going to hear it. And so the conductor makes sure that the communication with all of the instruments is perfect. It's telling them when to be on beat, when to come in on that measure. Of course, I'm a musician, so I like to use analogies with music, but it's like a conductor. And when the body is doing all of the things that it should, it makes a beautiful symphony. And that music playing in your body makes all of the things in your body work with the way that they should. And that's really the basics of it. And it's also the conductor's ability to go, okay, you guys are too noisy. We got to bring it down. We don't want to be too loud because you're going to blow everybody's eardrums. We need to make sure that it's at a level where we can all be functioning correctly, right? And so just like when you have a noisy neighbor down the hall, if you lived in an apartment complex and they're making tons of noise and there's people in and out of the door and loud noises and the music is too high, the endocannabinoid system would go over to that noisy neighbor, just like your inflammation or your discomfort, and go over and turn it down and say, okay, we need to stop this chaos. We need to focus on doing this, this, and this. And it's like an organizer of communication for the whole body. And the endocannabinoid system is actually more superior than our brain, which I know, like, the brain is the boss. Of course, it functions better than any computer that we could ever think of, but the endocannabinoid system also regulates the brain. So it's very, very important for you to make sure that your endocannabinoid system is functioning properly, and most people's aren't. I mean, 99.9% of people need CBD. Even healthy people, generally healthy people, need CBD to help replenish muscle tissue and cellular damage and nervous system issues and even bone growth. or just the access of being able to keep it from producing tumors in the body and things like that. So there's so many things that goes on with the endocannabinoid system. It's quite beautiful, and again, like I said, it's like a symphony. It's a beautiful, beautiful symphony of organization and communication throughout the body.
So that being said, I mean, I'm blown away daily about what I read, and there's so much out there. I know we hear all the time people say, "Oh, but there's no studies that have been done yet." That's complete BS. There's so much out there.
Oh, tens of thousands of
Yeah,
studies, clinical studies.
and if
Even our FDA has patents. We have patents by the
right.
FDA, but of course, they're not going to turn it into something that they can't profit from. So
Right,
we're
right.
not going to get into
So,
that.
to switch gears again, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I had mentioned that I was a geriatric pregnant woman,
Yeah.
through a high risk pregnancy. So I did a few things, just as being a mom for a first time at 40, I, cut down my caffeine influx to, just 1 cup a day. I mean, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do, but I also made sure that I was eating a really good whole foods based diet. I worked until I was 36 weeks pregnant, in the ambulance, on the back of the truck, or even bartending. I was always very, very active. So if a woman is pregnant or postpartum or even breastfeeding and considering the use of CBD, so obviously our concerns are the safety, which you kind of covered there. What would be important to find out specifically about the products that she was thinking about using? And then also the company producing those products. I think it's so important to really know what you're looking for.
100%. This is the biggest issue that I find is that people always ask, how do I know that I'm buying a good product and what should I look for? So let me walk you through that because it actually is, you got to do a lot more research. And until this industry is more regulated, which it's going there, we see a lot of states like Texas, when they just passed the hemp laws, there are going to be strict guidelines to be even able to sell hemp in Texas, and we're seeing it across all of the states. As legalization continues, as marijuana and hemp both become more widely used, there's going to be a lot more regulations. But until that happens, most of the CBD that we're seeing sold in stores is coming from China, and it's completely unregulated. These are products that could be completely mislabeled. They could have tons of pesticides and chemical solvents and metals and all of these things that would do more damage to your body than actually the CBD would be helping. Or it doesn't contain any CBD at all because everybody's trying to get on this kick. It's not, there's no pass through to make sure that the products are correct. And so these are the things that you need to be looking for. So let's go through this. I want to start at the top right. Certified organic is something that I would suggest everyone looking for. Just like I want to buy certified organic products in my food, I also want to be looking for a certified organic product. And this means that the actual hemp is certified organic. Typically, it's very, very difficult to certify the whole entire product because there are different ingredients and you'd have to get certifications on every single ingredient. There are companies that have that, but overall, you want to make sure that the hemp is certified. This means that it's grown without herbicides or pesticides. It means that it went through a process that the actual water systems were tested, the soil was tested, even the runoff from other farms. If there are farms around the area that are using pesticides or herbicides or any types of chemicals, that could go into the water system. And so those also have to be checked. And it's a very, very hard process. It takes years to get certified organic. And I'm just so glad that we work with Green Compass, that is a certified organic hemp farm, because moving to the next part, clean soil is so important because hemp actually takes everything out of the soil that it comes in contact with. It's called a scavenger plant. This is also another reason why they call it a weed. It grows like a weed, but it also sucks up everything from the soil like a weed. And so if you're using a hemp product that has unclean soil, you're going to get all those toxins in your CBD product. And so also hemp, if you didn't know this, is used as a cleansing plant or a cleansing crop. So in between crops, you're going to utilize they're going to utilize the hemp plant to actually clean the soil. And the hemp will pull up all the toxins, and then they will use the hemp for building products or something like that. And then even in places like Japan, when they had the radioactive soil because of after the nuclear disaster, they used hemp to clean the soil and take away the radioactive material. But can you imagine if you were getting hemp from a place that had radioactive CBD and they're sending it to the United States and you're taking that product? Like, that could very much happen. So you want to make sure that you're not using a product that has that issue. So how do you know what's in your product? Well, there's something called a certificate of analysis, or a COA, and that basically shows the CBD content, THC content. It proves what's in the bottle, but more than anything, it provides also an insight into the purity. So it's going to check herbicides and pesticides. It's going to show chemical solvents, heavy metals, microbials, and people don't think, like, what's a microbial? Well, your body, your CBD oil, if you don't know where it comes from, and not even joking, this happened to a customer of mine. She got a couple bottles off of Amazon and started getting very, very sick. We had the bottle tested, and not only did it have no CBD in it, but it had E. coli. That blew my mind. So we want to test for E. coli and salmonella and things like that, because it's really, really important for us to make sure that the product is quality. Moving on, you want to make sure that you're utilizing a product that's been cleaned with a carbon dioxide extraction. This preserves the cannabinoids really well. Ethanol and butane are very much utilized in the industry, but they can also keep residual solvents. And so you don't want to be ingesting butane and ethanol, especially if you're pregnant. But I would prefer not to have anything of any trace of any amount in any of my products. And so going back to the certificate of analysis, that will show you if there's butane or ethanol, that there are traces of that. Most likely that's because they use that in the cleansing or distillation process. And that's typically how you can tell. If there aren't any of those chemical solvents, typically they've used a CO2 extraction. You also want to make sure that you're getting a product that's made from the hemp flower. This is on the tops of the hemp plants and also marijuana. It looks like a little Christmas tree. This is also where we get the name bud. You know, if you think like smoking marijuana and smoking bud, well, that's because the flower bud is what we use. That is where all the cannabinoids are. And just like in marijuana, hemp also has a flower bud, because all of the females, we only use female plants because they are the only ones that produce flower. And so we use just the flower because that's where all of the CBD is. We want all of those rich cannabinoids. Now, there's trace amounts in the stalk and the seed and the leaves, but tiny, 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 tiny amounts. So it doesn't make sense for us to produce a plant that has a lot of seedy and stalkiness. We want to focus on ones that are more, flowering, and we use the tops of the flower. We chuck it off, we grind it, and then we extract it. So always looking for hemp flower. Typically, it'll say it on your bottle, or you can typically find out from whoever sells it if it's produced from the hemp flower. That'll give you a good idea if it's real CBD or not right there. That's the biggest indicator. A clear or golden color, even an amber color, as long as you can see through the product. If it's opaque, you want to walk away. That means that there's a lot of leftover plant material, and it probably will also taste disgusting. So clear golden color typically will show that it has the highest level of processing. So if it's totally clear, that's typically means it's an isolate. Clear will a CBD isolate will produce no color at all. And since we use coconut oil, it also has no color. So it's usually clear or a slightly light yellow color. And then if there are more terpenes or more cannabinoids, sometimes you'll see it be more of a golden color or an amber color. But again, you want to be able to see through it. That's the biggest indicator. And then coconut oil we use in our human products, but we also do use hemp seed oil in our pet products, but you can use one or the other. The reason why coconut oil is so great is we actually use what's called, it's not necessarily coconut oil. It's actually a medium chain triglyceride. So it's emulsified coconut oil. And the medium chain triglyceride is important because it breaks the blood-brain barrier. It actually goes right into the body and it gets absorbed and kicks in right away. And so on the MCT oil, you want to look for a brand that you're going to be able to get quickly absorbed in the body. It's going to be bioavailable. It's going to go right into the bloodstream. And since we're holding it under our tongue, the coconut oil works really, really well. Now, if you were going to use hemp seed oil doesn't have as much saturated fat, so it's much lower in bioavailability. Coconut oil has like 70 to 80% saturated fats, and then hemp is typically under 20% saturated fats. And so you can see the difference right there, 20 versus 80. That really shows you the indicator of the body being able to absorb it. And so coconut oil does a much better job when you hold it under your tongue. But if our pets are taking it, they can't hold it under their tongue. And if they get too much coconut oil, they might have a little diarrhea. So we use hemp seed products in our pet products because they're taking it, they're eating it. And so it goes into their digestive tract. And actually hemp seed is really great for your hair, skin, and nails. So we really prefer to give that to our pets. But if you are sensitive to coconut, you can absolutely take the pet product. It really wouldn't matter much. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love that slide. I feel like it's so important to feature that slide because it really encompasses a lot of the information that if somebody was really going out and looking on their own for a product and didn't have you or I helping them specifically, that it would give them a good guidelines. And we always want everybody to go out and do their due diligence. Ours isn't the only great product on the market, but we can tell you that it meets all the standards that you or I are willing to take, you know?
And I
Um,
think the biggest kicker is that we own our farms. We are completely vertically integrated. And there's a lot of companies that use that term, but unless they actually own the farm and they manage the farming processes, they don't truly have full authority over how it's being produced or managed. And again, if it's not a certified farm, but we are certified and we own our own farm. It's Green Compass Farms, and that's a big difference. And we manage the whole process. We do all the extraction ourselves, all the bottling, shipping, production, everything. And then of course we have a business opportunity around it as well.
so I think that takes us into like what, that kind of covers our next slide. That's about like what makes Green Compass different, right?
Yeah, hold on, let me pull that up. Here you go. Do you want to talk
Covered
through
all of
that?
it. Much. There's a few things there maybe you didn't cover.
Do you want to talk through it?
Yeah, that's fine. So obviously we talked a little bit about, the standards of quality that, Green Compass has vetted their farms. Every step of the process has been quality checked. There's, a little bit about our founders is the whole reason they started the company was they wanted to use a CBD that they felt was safe to use for their children. So all of us mamas know you're not going to give your kid anything that you don't feel comfortable giving them. So the ethical and quality standards of this company are beyond anything I've seen out there. They're really committed to being a trusted name in the CBD industry. They are, there's so many different companies out there selling CBD right now. They may be a hair products company and just came out with a CBD line, or they're a nutraceutical company that decided to add CBD. There's so many companies kind of jumping on that bandwagon. But they typically are not vertically integrated like we talked about, and they're not necessarily just a CBD company. That is all that Green Compass does. We're always going to be focused just on CBD, and we're taking the time to do all the types of research that we need to do to ensure that we're producing safe products along the way. We've got a team of industry professionals that are helping us along the way. We've got UNCW is now involved, which is super exciting to me because that's my alma mater, with doing testing and clinical trials. I think they're going through about 400 clinical trials right now, which is so amazing. I love the research side of things. I'm kind of a nerd like that. And then we've got a U.S. Hemp Authority seal of approval, which is not necessarily like the most important thing out there. I think we learned a little bit about that last year. It's kind of a marketing tactic that a lot of companies are using. However, to ensure our customers are, feeling comfortable with taking our product, we made sure that we got that seal as well. And then there's, the innovation and developing new products. I could go on and on about this all. Is just astronomical what's happening with Green Compass right now. Everything is done right and very focused on just being a top leader in the industry. We've got 100% money back guarantee on our products too, so it's like a win-win for everybody.
Heck yes.
Yes.
I love that.
I love that. I think, if the next thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit about, we've covered the safety and how to find a company or products. And then what type of, what advice would you give a pregnant woman who obviously with her doctor's permission was going to use CBD? What would you tell her starting out? There's so much overwhelming information out there that's like, I weigh this much, I should take this many milligrams, or take 2 drops under your tongue, or other companies that are saying just take 2 milliliters. There's so much out there. Like, where do you start?
That is so true. It is very overwhelming, but it's actually a very simple technique. So I'm going to explain that to you. We call it microdosing for a reason, because the sweet spot that you take of CBD is actually going to be very, very different for each person. So the general rule of thumb is that there are 5 things that will matter to the endocannabinoid system. And it's not size, weight, age. Those are factors, but I'm going to walk you through all of them. Number 1 is your overall health. What kind of issues are you having? Do you have multiple diseases and disorders? So your overall health is going to be very indicative of how you respond. Your genetics, your metabolism, what kind of issues you've had programmed into your DNA. That's another factor. Number 3 is going to be the noise of your body. This could be toxin levels. This could be external pollutants. This could be environmental factors. It could be a lot of different things. And this could actually be indicative of why you have discomfort issues, because it could relate to toxin and pollution issues. The 4th would be your, let me think, where was I? Number 4, hold on. I know this is why it's confusing, right? Number 4 would be your sensitivity level. So sensitivity is going to be different for everyone. I have dealt with a patient that was 6'7", 300 pounds, and he can only take 1 drop of CBD. Otherwise, he feels too relaxed. It's really funny. And then my dog, who's a Pomeranian, has a much higher dose because she tends to get separation issues. She overreacts and has panic issues, and then she actually gets seizures. And so her dose is very different than my human man. And so that has to do with your sensitivity. Some people are just super sensitive to everything. So I always ask people, like, if you take, an ibuprofen, do you need 1 or 4? Like, what is your level of need? Because some people, it doesn't matter on their pain level. It matters on their sensitivity level. And then the 5th one is going to be size, age, weight, sex, and all of those factors in together. Clearly, a dog and a male, a man, human, is going to have a little bit of a factor. But again, that sensitivity level could override the size and age of the human. Now, of course, age is a factor when we come into genetics, because as we age, our bodies aren't producing the chemicals that they need anymore. Our body isn't repairing like it used to. We're not producing things like glutathione. Glutathione is something that helps the building blocks of our body and our immune support. So if you look at what's going on right now with the virus, if you take products that help the body produce glutathione, you have a better chance of helping your body protect against viruses like what we're seeing right now. But as you age, your body stops producing glutathione. And so there are certain supplements we have to take to help our bodies produce chemicals, right? And all of these things go together. But going back to dosing, if you look at those 5 factors, you want to think about, okay, what is that person's specific endocannabinoid system? Well, there's no way for us to know, because how would you generally know those factors? I mean, even somebody might not know themselves for their own body. So the best thing to do is to start with a very, very small amount. We call it start low and slow. So you want to shake the bottle of CBD before you take it. You want to take a little bit of the oil into the dropper, and you want to place 1 to 2 drops. And when I say 1 to 2 drops, you're going to be like shocked. Okay, I'm going to show you. 1 to 2 drops is literally a drop. That's a drop. That's a drop. That's a drop. That's a drop. Like, you're not giving someone a dropper full, even though it might say on the bottle that it takes a dropper full as a serving size. That's something that you work up to eventually, but most people cannot take a dropper full. It is too much for their systems. So you want to take just a couple drops under your tongue, hold it there for, I say, 90 to 120 seconds, 2 minutes or more. The longer you hold it, the faster it absorbs into the oral mucosal veins. So you have these veins in your mouth, all these capillaries under your tongue here, and that goes right into the bloodstream. So you hold it there for a few minutes and it goes right into the body. And so your body's absorbing it really quickly. And then you want to kind of think of like, how do I feel overall? And so I kind of do like a scale of 1 to 10. How do I, how's my level of discomfort? How do I generally feel overall? Like, can I smile authentically? We don't want to think about happy or sad. We want to think, am I feeling well overall? Does my body feel calm and relaxed in a sense that I feel like I could be productive, but also not tired? So those are things that you're looking for. And then after you do that, you want to kind of stay on that dose for a few days. The reason we do that is because 2 things happen. We have to accumulate CBD and THC, all of these things accumulate in our body. And then the other thing is that your body has to acclimate. And so the body needs a few days to figure out, is this my dose? Is this what will activate my endocannabinoid system? And when you start seeing any change, it could be sleep, it could be any level of discomfort change, it could be just your mental focus, things like that are signs that your endocannabinoid system is activated. So taking much more than that won't necessarily do you good. Now, if you had an extra stressful day or an environmental factor happened or something like that, you could up your dose, but you would immediately go back down to what we call your minimum therapeutic range. This is the minimum amount that your body needs to stay activated, because we're not taking CBD to fix things. It's not like taking 1 versus 4 Advil. You take 1 Advil, you might get a little bit of pain relief. You take 4 Advil and you have inflammation and pain relief and you feel better, right? That's not how cannabis works, because there is something called biphasic. This is what we consider the two-faced cannabis. Cannabis is two-faced, just like alcohol is two-faced. You can have a glass of wine, and then if you have 4 glasses of wine, you go from being giggly and happy to, God knows, crying, sad, angry, sleepy, all of these things, right? Now, you're not ever going to get any adverse effects from cannabis like you would from alcohol, especially in CBD oil. But if you take too much, you're not going to get the relief that you're looking for. And in fact, it actually can stimulate all of these symptoms that you're feeling to actually exacerbate slightly. We're not talking about a huge amount of exacerbation. We're talking about a very small amount of exacerbation. But you want to make sure that you're doing the minimum amount your body needs. And so dosage is everything. So I usually say 3 days, increase your dose by a couple of drops, but don't go, oh, I feel great on 5 drops, I'm going to switch to 10. You don't ever double your dose like that. It's always a small accumulation. So, you take 2 drops every 3 days, and then you switch to 3 drops. And then 3 days you switch to 4 drops. And then 3 days you switch to 5 drops. And that's how slow the process is. This is a very patient plant. And I know a lot of you guys want relief right away. That's not how it works. It is all about activation of the endocannabinoid system. Because again, CBD is not a pain reliever. It's not an anxiety reliever. These are not things, it accesses our system to be able to produce the molecules and chemicals to get those effects, but it's not what is actually doing the work. Our bodies are doing the work. So it's very important that you guys work in a microdosing standard. And CJ does have access to a write-up by Dr. Dustin Sulak, and he explains that a little bit better, because honestly, it's just very, very easy. It is just these slow acclimations, slow accumulations into your body. And when you feel anything, you stop and you stay at that dose. And that's typically the dose that you would stay at most of the time.
Right. It's so awesome once you do find your dose too. It's just, it's really hard to explain to people when they first start taking it. Like, it's more about the absence of these negative feelings and emotions that you were having than it is a euphoria.
Yeah.
It's really, it's just the bad stuff goes away. And
Yeah.
then you really notice all the good stuff again, right?
100%.
It was amazing for me to find. So, switching back to, during pregnancy, a lot of women have issues with their skin. And during pregnancy, you are dealing with the emotional changes of what's going on with your body. So you want to look good and you want to feel good in your own skin. I myself have, dealt with redness and dryness my whole life. But, what would you say that you would be looking for if you were trying to find a CBD product that was in skincare specifically? Because we all go through different changes. Either your skin gets dry, your skin gets oily, you start to get acne, your facial skin changes so much from pregnancy. What would you look for, and what do you recommend there?
Sure. Well, before we had skincare lines that came out, I actually added drops of my CBD oil to my skincare, and that's one great way to do it. Adding CBD to your skincare will help, obviously, inflammation and redness, cell turnover, overall skin health. So any of the reactive issues that you're having with your skin, acne and wrinkles is an indicator of dehydration and cell turnover. Redness is an indicator of inflammation. And so because CBD does this to the rest of our body, if you think about, like, if you had a rash and you put CBD cream on it, the rash would go away, right? Because it's a response to the inflammation. Same thing on your face. If you're having dry or red patches, if you're seeing little bouts of dermatitis, little bumps on your skin, a lot of people will see it in their hairline. They'll see it on their cheeks. They might get acne in their hormonal areas. Think about all the things that CBD does to the rest of the body: inflammation, cell turnover, reformation of the skin tissue. Just the healing properties of CBD is what is so important. And when you put it on your face, and in conjunction with a really clean source of ingredients, I mean, we're talking like the highest level European standards. We don't use any toxins, no chemicals, nothing. That in conjunction with CBD is like literally life-changing for some women. And even my husband, I mean, he won't even allow me to share the skin cleanser and the cream with him, because he has it like in his shower, because I'm a bath girl. So he has his cleanser in the shower and his cream on his side. And then I have my cleanser and the peel pads and the skin stuff. But really what we notice is immediate inflammation reduction. So the redness, the dryness, the cell turnover. And then over a few weeks, people start seeing the changes of like, oh my gosh, I see less wrinkles. And it's not necessarily you didn't have the wrinkles there before, but your body probably wasn't hydrating itself. It wasn't cycling out the dead skin cells properly. And so all of these products, that's what they do. So I'll show you guys a little bit about the skincare. So with a milk cleanser, we don't actually have milk in it. So if you guys are dairy free, you don't have to worry. It's just the consistency is milky. And I love this because not only does it take off most of your makeup, I typically say take off your eye makeup. You don't want to waste a good skincare product by taking your eye makeup off with it. It will take off your skin makeup, but generally speaking, get a washcloth, get an oil, and take all your makeup off before you start the cleansing process. And the Korean skincare fad is also a dual cleansing process. So you want to remove first and then cleanse. So the Calming Milk Cleanser is fantastic. It smells amazing. And it really has a lot of citrus properties. So it's going to exfoliate the skin. It's going to hydrate the skin. It's going to reduce redness. It has a boatload of wonderful essential oils that is going to help the skin tissues. Then you've got the B&B peel pads, which is kind of like a fad favorite now. Everybody is talking about that glow. Hold on a second. I'm going to grab the skincare while we're looking at this so I can actually tell you the ingredients in it, because I totally forgot to do that. Hold on.
I think one of the big things is, a lot of people right now are following that EWG website, which is, if you guys are not familiar with that, it breaks down different products and what chemicals are in them and the safety and efficacy of those products. And it's an amazing website to go to if you're a pregnant or breastfeeding or postpartum mom that's conscious about what's going into your body. I think I've been, more educated since I've gotten on that website and learned a lot about stuff. It's so important, the ingredients that we're putting on and in our body and using in our households.
Absolutely. So all of our products, all of the ingredients are rated 1 or 2 on the EWG rating. So you don't want anything higher than a 3. Once it gets into 4, it becomes a toxin. And then you definitely don't want anything at 7, 8, 9, or 10. Like those are like chemicals. You could like literally die from it. So all of our, and I checked all of the ingredients, but we've got in the cleanser, we've got hemp seed oil, we've got argan oil, we've got obviously hemp flour. We've got different types of root oil, jojoba. We've got chamomile extract. So that's very soothing. It's very calming. I believe we also have a couple of citrus extracts, and all of these have their, so if you can't read people say if you can't read the word, then it's bad for you. That's not true. So in what we would call a like a medical esthetician level product, typically you're going to have the scientific names on the back. So companies can choose whether they're going to use the scientific names or the actual names. Ours are the scientific names. So just because you see cellulose gum doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad for you, or cetyl alcohol. Like there are certain things that we have to keep in the product to make sure that they are preserved. And anytime you have water in a product, you have to have a level of preservative. And preservatives aren't necessarily bad if they're naturally derived. And so that's what we have in our skincare. In the peel pads, I love the peel pads because they actually do have certain types of extracts that exfoliate the skin. And that's why people, when they put it on and after like 5-10 minutes and they wash it off, their skin is glowing. It's because it's taken all this surface residual gunk, the cells that are left over that need to come off. And it really is amazing for any breakouts. Let me tell you, if I have a breakout and I rub that on at night, the breakout is typically gone the next day, or it heals rapidly. I mean, it's like it dries it right up, but it keeps it healthy and it doesn't leave a scab. And so I love the peel pads for that. My daughter's skin issues, 100% gone. And then you would follow up with the advanced peptide cream. This is definitely something you want to probably utilize more at night than during the day. But if you do use it in the daytime, I like to mix it with a sunscreen, or I might water it down with a few other oils. Sometimes I like to add like a little extra things that I have in my bathroom. But the advanced peptide cream is definitely a night cream in terms of the repairing. Not that it's heavy like a night cream, because you can always add water to it and make it less thick. So that's always a tip and trick. But the peptide cream does its work at night because your body is healing, your skin is, your cell turnovers happen at night. And so you want to make sure you have this on at nights specifically. The other products you can use, I mean, you can use all the products at any time, but this one really is just beautiful. So what else did we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about any more of the skin, or do you want to talk about the other product?
Something else to mention is a little bit, can we talk about like Meredith's background and, how important that was for her? Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Our founder emeritus is a licensed clinical esthetician. Am I correct in saying that, Marlies? I'm going to double check with you. So this was a very important line for her to put out, and it was very focused on making sure that there were clean, quality ingredients once again in this, with her background that she felt absolutely wonderful about providing to her advocates, to her customers, to friends and family. And I think that's an important point to talk about, is that this was not developed from just somebody. It's, there's some scientific background that's gone into this as well. And I've seen amazing results with the skincare myself, and I'm very, very pleased with it. So to talk about, let's delve into the other products as well. But, during labor and delivery, there's so much pain. No matter how you're delivering a child, whether it be a C-section or natural labor and delivery, I think everybody's got their own birth story. What types of products would you recommend kind of through the cycle of pregnancy to labor and delivery and then postpartum while you're breastfeeding?
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, obviously, the one that is the most popular and does the most work is the tinctures. I recommend I mean, really any human, pet, anybody should be taking a CBD product. And internally, the only way that you can access the CB1, CB2, and CB3 receptors is internally. When you put it on the skin, most likely it's only going to access the CB2 receptors, which is still very powerful. But when we're talking about brain and nervous function, you definitely want to be taking it orally. So I would say, pick what works for you, whether it's start low and slow and try it out at our lowest tincture, which is the 500 milligram, which is really our most popular. The 500 milligram is what most people buy. They get great results from. But then we have a 750, a 1000, and then typically our 2500 is really for people maybe that are sharing bottles. If you've got a whole family sharing one bottle, you could use the 2500 milligram and just take less drops so it lasts longer. Or people that have very, very chronic disorders. And we're talking about diseases and disorders that are life-threatening. So if you're going to be looking at starting with a product, you definitely don't want to start with the 2500. You want to start with a lower amount. And as you can see here, we also have the THC-free, which comes in natural and citrus. That second bottle there in the orange. And so you can get the 500 or the 750 in our THC free product. And I hope in the future we can actually see some more options of maybe a broad spectrum or something like that. But that would be really exciting. But that is the primary, that is our number one seller. The tinctures are the way to go. Now, if you really need some help with, let's say you've got a lot of, hold on, let me see. Where'd you go? There we go. So the topical issues, let's say you have muscle discomfort, joint aches, inflammation, any type of discomfort anywhere, whether it's nerves or muscle or skeletal, this reduce or any of our topicals really is going to give you a lot of help. Anytime you put CBD on the skin, it absorbs. And so we have special essential oils, basically peppermint, wintergreen, and spearmint, which are methyl salicylate, camphor, and what else? Menthol, methyl salicylate, and camphor. So those are basically essential oils that drive it deep down into the tissue. And so both of these are FDA registered, which means they do reduce pain on contact. So we can actually say that they reduce pain because of the active ingredients, not necessarily the CBD as the active ingredient, but the active ingredients. And then the pain patches actually have lidocaine. So if you had a surface level or tissue level damage, discomfort, it'll actually numb the area, and then it'll produce the rest of all of the ingredients that are in the pain cream are also in the pain patch. But you can keep it on. It's water resistant, and it works up to 96 hours. I typically tell people use the pain cream for a while and then use the patch once your body gets a little bit acclimated, because anytime you use CBD products, there can be a few weeks of adjustment. And so you don't want to go in and automatically think like, oh, all of my pain is going to be gone. That's really not the case.
Right.
Let me hide that and hide this. Okay, let's.
I think like one of the things that I found was super exciting was there's an advocate that works with us who did a fully natural birth, had no pain meds at all whatsoever, and she used our pain creams and our pain patches while she was laboring, and talks about how wonderful her birth experiences was. And I'm just blown away by that. First of all, from a mom who can have natural childbirth without pain medication, kudos to you. That's not me. I had a breech baby, so I had zero choice but to do a C-section. So that was my birth plan. But I'm just astounded that somebody got so much benefit from our products and raves about it constantly, about how that helped her with her birthing plan. It's just, I love it.
Absolutely. And I wanted to mention the Soothe Body Cream because even though we look at the reduced cream for pain relief, the Soothe cream is going to help most discomfort also. Like this is still a very, very strong cream, but it has no mentholated scent, so you're not going to have that icy hot feel at all. It's got rosemary and I believe argan oil. Where is it? Let's see here. Shea butter, aloe vera, sunflower, argan oil, rosemary. So these are all like really calming effects. I like to call it the boo-boo cream because it's good for like cuts, scrapes, burns, bug bites, bruises, like anything that you need to fix. It does that. And then also if you have like hand discomfort or foot discomfort, and you don't necessarily want the tingle of the menthol, then this is fantastic as well. And before we had the skincare, I used to wear this on my face. Like it is so fantastic. So it is really like our all-encompassing cream. And I tell people if they're just getting started and they want like a cheaper cream to go for the Soothe, because most people get great relief from it. And I feel like it helps nerve issues, nerve discomfort even better than the Reduce personally. A lot of people feel like the icy hot sometimes irritates nerves. So the Soothe is fantastic. But I feel like the bomb product for women that are pregnant
Yes.
is this. I don't know about y'all, but I lived in the bathtub the last 3 weeks of my pregnancy, and I had a July baby. And so when Sadie, before she was born, I was actually, I think I was almost 2 weeks late. So I was just in so much discomfort. Couldn't sleep, couldn't feel comfortable. I literally couldn't put my fingers in front of my belly. I was so big. And I floated in the pool during the day. And then at night, I took like a bath in the morning and a bath at night. And I put like magnesium and Epsom salts and essential oils. This is before CBD, right? Because my daughter's almost 12. But CBD, I have a bent spine, pretty severely bent spine. And then I have nerve damage and disc issues and all of these things. And I take a bath soak and I'm telling you, I have relief for days. It is so fantastic. The level of comfort that you get from the bath soaks is wonderful. And especially if you're pregnant, already releasing that weight, that gravity by laying in a bath of water is so wonderful anyways. And then you add the bath soaks in there with the essential oils. Oh my God, it's like heaven. Heaven.
One of my favorites for sure. I love a good CBD bath, and I don't get them very often, but when I do, have an ache or a pain, just to be able to take a minute and be like, you know what would help? Let me take the time to take a bath tonight,
Yes. And the other thing I would say for any of you pregnant and nursing moms, our essential oil rollers are the bomb also. Do I have where is my thing of essential oil rollers? I always have them like right next to me usually.
Well, I have one right here. I have
You
the
do?
calm right here.
Yes. And you always want to make sure that you check the essential oils because there's certain essential oils that can dry up your breast milk or they can irritate certain things. So you always want to check that first. But I love the whole kit. Like, especially the women's monthly blend. Oh my gosh, that helped me so much with my discomfort of, just my cycles and my periods and just acting like a crazy person during my time of the month. But I carry the Calm with me. The ice roller is fantastic for any discomfort anywhere. So if I have I'm just not feeling like my back hurts or whatever, I'll roll that on. And then the Crown is so great for head discomfort, allergies, like anything that is hurting here. Anything here is like the Crown helps so much. Focus. I also do the focus right here on my sinus cavities and on my neck and on my wrist, just to smell that stimulates my brain. And then the shine roller, I just feel like that is the one that just makes me happy. And it smells delicious. It's like citrus and vanilla and it's yummy. And I smell it and I'm just like, just makes you feel good.
That one every day. I really could. I could. And I think our essential oil rollers are awesome because they're not overwhelming.
No.
It's not like, you guys know that guy that walks by you at the mall or something and he's got the patchouli on and you're like, he's 20 feet away from you and you're still smelling him. It's not like that. It's very mild, but it's definitely strong enough that you smell it yourself and it makes a big difference daily to be using those. I love them.
Yeah, me too. I wanted to show really quickly the pet product because we just kind of touched on this, but if you, and this isn't particular to breastfeeding or pregnant moms, but if you have a fur baby that is having any issues, definitely pick up a pet product. We have the 250 natural, which has nothing in it, just it's hemp seed oil and CBD. There's no THC. And then we have a bacon flavored, which is actually a hickory smoke essential oil. So it kind of smells like bacon, but it's not bacon. It's definitely not made from bacon. But those are so important because our fur babies are like our regular babies too. And if I didn't have a baby, a human baby, I would have lots and lots and lots of huskies running everywhere. And kitty cat. So
Well, I also think that's an important thing to talk about too, because I think that everybody's animals go through a big transition as you bring a new baby home, and their anxiety may be ramped up. They may be going through jealousy issues, and they may need a moment of calm too.
yeah.
I mean, it's all relative. We all have an endocannabinoid system, and my pup, he's 16 years old now, and has hip and joint issues, and we use it for him with great results. He's still running around the house like a puppy. But if I forget to give it to him for days, you can definitely, he takes a little longer to get up and down the stairs, and he's not a big fan of thunderstorms either, and that definitely helps to kind of chill him out during a storm. It's great. If we know we're getting a storm, I'll go ahead and give him a few drops. He loves the bacon.
Yes, mine too. My daughter, my Pomeranian, like my daughter, she has separation issues and she freaks out all the time about everything. Like you just kick her off the couch and she goes into a seizure. So we have to give her CBD every single day. Otherwise, we could, potentially be harming her body. If she keeps having seizures, she loses, time of her lifespan. So it's really, she was one of the biggest reasons, other than my issues with her issues, starting with CBD 7 years ago. And as long as we keep consistent, we don't have any problems. So do you want to talk about our opportunity, or do we still have a couple things?
Yeah. No, that's fine. I just wanted to talk about maybe just very briefly talking about like postpartum and the hormones that we go through in postpartum time. Like I was 40 when I first had a kid. It was definitely a big change in my life, one that I'd never experienced before. And, I'm really, really thankful about how it helped me through my postpartum period, as I had just found CBD, shortly after having my daughter. And then our founder, Meredith, like I said, she spearheaded the whole company because she wanted a product that she felt comfortable giving her kids and, taking with some postpartum issues she was having herself. So is there anything else that you want to talk about as far as the homeostasis and hormones, and touch on that, and then I'll go into opportunity?
Yes, of course. So after you have your baby, clearly our hormones are all over the place. I mean, I remember when I had baby, like the day of, I had probably 17 emotions, like crying, scared, shivering, like all of them. I had to have an epidural because we had to use Pitocin, so we had to induce, and it was very, very uncomfortable because it's like being in like full on labor for 5 hours, and I did it naturally for we started Pitocin at like 6:30 in the morning, and around 11:30 I finally was like, I give up, I can't do this. Like I was even almost passing out. So I had an epidural. I remember when it wore off, I was like all over the place. And then when I came home, I was obviously in a lot of discomfort because I had a third-degree tear, 22 stitches. And so that, in conjunction to just like trying to breastfeed and trying to figure out your cycle again, like just your normal day cycle, you all of a sudden you have this new human that you have to take care of and make sure that they don't die. And it's so scary, especially with your first. And I remember my emotions just being like all over the place, like highs and lows and crying and happy and breaking out and my hair's falling out and like all these things are happening. And we think about homeostasis, that's like going back and balancing the body after some sort of injury or some sort of like life expectant thing or toxin or pollution or anything, right? CBD helps us get back to normal again. And so when they're trying to find that level of normalcy, CBD is so important to help relieve the stress, to help the discomfort, to help our bodies, our tissues repair. I mean, if you think about putting CBD on anything that was just recently stretched out very, very far and now is going back, I mean, if I had CBD back then, I'd probably have much better skin quality on my belly, because it does help, stretch marks and things like that. So I would see it as soon as during your pregnancy using it, and then after your pregnancy continuing to use it, because now your body's going through this healing process, this adjustment period, and we need our body to go back again to homeostasis. So that's really all it is. It's just balancing it.
Right. So moms who are going through that transition to motherhood, there's so much change that goes on mentally, physically, emotionally. And I wish that I had had CBD when I was pregnant with Harper, and then, through my birthing plan, and then immediately in the postpartum period. But I'm very, very thankful that I found it when I did, because it's allowed me as a paramedic to cut my hours back tremendously, to the point where I am literally just working enough to keep my credentials now. It's been a blessing that I found Green Compass. I think the opportunity of this company is one that doesn't come around very often in your lifetime, with the trajectory of what we're looking at as far as the industry and how things are changing there. It is just, it's an amazing opportunity. If a mom is, just now pregnant and trying to think of like a different way to transition through her pregnancy, and maybe pick up a side hustle or turn it into a full-time career. There's a possibility here with Green Compass. And I think it's so important to chat about that, because I've found it to be such a blessing for myself. And all I want to do is share it with the world,
Yeah.
So I'm going to need you to make that slide a little bigger, because I don't have that one in front of me. Thanks. Let's go through this really quick. So yeah, one of the best things about the company is they have a really duplicatable process. The compensation plan is, it seems really complicated at the beginning, but basically we break it down to there's 9 different ways to earn income with working with Green Compass. You can earn weekly and monthly commissions. Again, we talked about how innovative and fast growing this company is. CBD was just became legal in December of 2018. January of 2019 was when the laws passed to allow it in all 50 states to be sold. And so we hit the ground running February 6th of 2019. And I've been on board since pre-launch at that time. It's really all about being in the right place at the right time with the right product. And you can feel very comfortable about, our industry and Green Compass doing all the right things. And, you can work this part-time, you can work it full-time, you can earn a lifetime's worth of money with this. This is a way to, if you really want to put your heart and soul into it, it's really a way that you can create compensation that's going to be coming in residually for your family, and create a little nest egg for your little ones. And that's really where I saw the opportunity with this. I've jumped on board, dove in head first, and I am amazed daily. We get endless support from home office and our field leadership, like our presidential founders, like Marlies, who's here today. And I'm so thankful for her, jumping on with us today to chat about things. But we also get discounts, we get some free products, they give out incentives, we have fun trips that we do. It's been an amazing opportunity, and I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm so happy that Marlies joined us today, because like I said, she is just a wealth of knowledge. And I'm pleased to, have the opportunity to jump on a live with you. It's been great.
Yes. I've loved this so much. Do you want to tell people about how easy it is to get started and what they can get?
Yeah, so there's 2 different ways to get started. Our first one is just a basic plan where you're going to join the business, and you get your own website. You won't get any products with that, but you can get started right away. You tune into all of our trainings. We do a lot of stuff through Facebook, so it's really simple. If you're here, you can already do that. We can get you plugged into things. We usually get people up and running within their first week, and they are just, hit the ground running. You can do as much as you want with it. But, the big thing is if you want to get a great kit to start out that's going to give you a huge array of our products at a deeply discounted rate, so you can try those products out yourself. You can sample them to friends. You can give them to family, neighbor, loved one, however you want it. You can do with that kit whatever you want. I think I took a couple of my products from the kit right when I got it, and I just went ahead and sold them to, like, I sold one to my mom, one to my aunt, and next thing I knew, I had already paid for my kit. So I was like, zero overhead for starting a new business is insanity. Who gets to do that these days? But I think it's so awesome. You get our citrus, our natural, you get a couple of the fresh mints, you get a pet tincture, one of the creams, two of the bath bombs, and then you get all of our product and marketing paperwork. We've got a cool little Route 6 magazine that comes with everything that really talks about the industry and is super informative for somebody new who's starting out. I love that magazine.
I
Lori,
love all of the
the
stuff
new
it
one in
talks about.
July, I think. Yeah, it's awesome. So there's so many resources that the company provides you with, and it's so duplicatable. That's what makes this so successful. Our industry right now, Marlies, do you want to talk about the industry and where it's going?
Yeah, I'd love to. As you might know, direct sales is probably one of the best ways to get a product launched, because we did start off as a company just selling to medical organizations, facilities, things like that. But when people started asking about the product and people kept referring more people and more people, it kind of just like spread like wildfire. And we all know that like word of mouth is the way to go. And so when they first started the business, they didn't necessarily think they wanted to go into direct sales. But now that we have over 10,000 advocates telling more and more and more people. We have like 30,000 clients across the country already, and we're only a year old. So this is a very, very quickly moving industry. And of all of the industries in direct sales, health and wellness is the number one, but CBD is on top. And more than that, just the cannabis industry alone is going to go from just a few $100 million to a $22 billion industry just within a few more years. And so this is the time if you want to if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to get into an industry where in a few years you could literally replace your income, then this is the time to do it, honestly. But if you're looking just for a side hustle, some extra cash, this is something that can be brought up in every conversation. I find that when I'm talking to someone and they're just telling me what's going on to their daily day situations, I find it appropriate to bring up CBD almost all the time. Like, what are you doing for stress right now during this issue? How are you handling things at home and staying focused? And I'm always like, CBD. You might think it's a joke, but this is the thing that helps all of the things that I have issues with. And then more than that, it's a very easy job to do. You're helping people, you're changing their lives, you're making money at the same time. It's something that will grow organically as long as people are having great results and telling other people. It literally grew like wildfire for me. And so I can't say enough about it. It is something that has totally changed the lives of my family. My clients, I've literally heard miracles from some of my clients. But for us, it is our sole source of income. There's no other income that's coming in right now, especially now, but it's been the sole source of income since we've started with Green Compass. It provides all the things that we need for our family. And I can just see that keeping, growing and expanding. And as we get, more of that residual income from our team coming in, then I'll be able to take breaks and go on more trips and enjoy traveling and things like that. And so for me, it means a lot because I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been in corporate America sales. I was a sales leader. I was a $1 million producer. I didn't make $1 million, but I had $1 million book of business. But I was also had golden handcuffs. I couldn't do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. I had a boss over my head all the time. And I thought, if I could work for myself, I wonder how successful I really could be. And with a lot of help from all of the incredible industry leaders that we have on our teams and the direction that they have given us, it's honestly very similar to the corporate America job I had. I'm my own boss. I get to do work when I want to do it. I can run as hard as I want to. and have become very successful. And I know that other people are able to do that. And now is the time, even if it's just a few $100s a month, or if it's literally an entire income, you can do it. It's really up to you though. There's nobody else that can make that decision but you.
Right, right. Well, I think that's awesome. I guess we could open this up to any questions that anybody has right now, or any comments that anyone wants to make. We'll be here for a few minutes to answer any questions for anybody.
Yeah, we'll just wait. If anybody wants to type them in, we can ask them questions. And then if not, we can always answer them later. All right, I'll give it a couple minutes.
Sounds good. Crickets.
Yeah, crickets. I was trying to play music, but it's not working.
Oh, it's okay. Jenny, thanks so much. Yeah, we hope that you had an opportunity to learn a little bit more while you were here today. Thank you for jumping on.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, if we don't have any questions right now, we can always wrap it up and then answer questions on the chat below. But I really appreciate you having me, CJ. This has been fantastic.
We were thrilled to have you on, Marlies, and we will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Okay, you guys have an awesome day.
You too.
Thanks for coming.